Namaste and good evening to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for a webinar which is focused on one of the most important issues the world is facing. Today is World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, and this webinar is going to be with a special focus on children. So thank you so much everyone for joining, and I'd like to begin this session by introducing Priyank Kanungoji, who is the chairperson for NCPCR India. Priyank ji is a person who has worked for not just child rights but also education across the length and breadth of India. He has traveled extensively, he has worked on ground extensively, and previous to this, he has also been a member of NCPCR. So Priyank ji is someone who comes with tremendous experience, and his belief when it comes to human trafficking is prevention is key. So over to you now, Priyank ji, and thank you for your keynote address.
नमस्कार चारू जी, आप सभी लोग जो इस वेबिनार में आज जुड़े हैं, आप सभी का मैं बच्चों के लिए समय निकालने के लिए राष्ट्रीय बाल अधिकार संरक्षण आयोग की तरफ से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूं। मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहूंगा पश्चिम बंगाल राज्य बाल अधिकार संरक्षण आयोग की अध्यक्ष श्रीमती अनन्या चक्रवर्ती जी का। मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहूंगा आसाम राज्य बाल आयोग की अध्यक्ष जी का। मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहूंगा मेंबर सेक्रेटरी झारखंड राज्य बाल अधिकार संरक्षण आयोग और स्पेशल सेक्रेटरी भी हैं झारखंड सरकार के श्री डी.के. सक्सेना साहब का। मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहूंगा श्री राजेश जी का, जो नारकोटिक्स कंट्रोल ब्यूरो से आज हमारे लिए समय निकाल के आए हैं। हमारे साथ आज हमारी मेंटरिंग, हमारे पेट्रोनेज के लिए नीति आयोग भी है और वहां से डायरेक्टर अनामिका सिंह जी हमारे साथ जुड़ी हुई हैं, उनका भी मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करना चाहूंगा। जब हम देश में चाइल्ड ट्रैफिकिंग की बात करते हैं और जो लोग चाइल्ड ट्रैफिकिंग के काम में, प्रिवेंशन के काम में या क्योर के काम में, इसकी रोकथाम के काम में लगे हुए हैं, उनके लिए डॉक्टर नायर साहब का नाम कोई अछूता नहीं है। आज डॉक्टर पीएम नायर साहब हमारे साथ हैं, मैं उनको धन्यवाद करता हूं। हमारे साथ सुनीता कृष्णन जी हैं, जिन्होंने सेक्स ट्रेड से बच्चियों को बचाने में अपना पूरा जीवन झोंक दिया है। तो आज सबके अनुभव हमको साझा होकर मिलेंगे, ये हम सभी का सौभाग्य है। आज जो दिन है वर्ल्ड डे अगेंस्ट ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग, उसको एक कामकाजी दिन के रूप में मनाते हुए एक बहुत अच्छा अनुभव हम लोगों के बीच में आने वाला है। हम लोगों ने मई, जून और जुलाई के माह में लगातार 3 महीने काम करके हमारे सभी राज्य बाल अधिकार संरक्षण आयोगों के साथ और विभिन्न स्टेक होल्डर्स के साथ मिलकर, जिसमें एक्सपर्ट्स शामिल थे, एक डॉक्यूमेंट भी तैयार किया है, जिसको हमने आज सवेरे ही रिलीज किया है, जो सभी स्टेक होल्डर्स को मिला है। मैं आज बेसिकली उसके विषय में ही बात करूंगा, लेकिन इस डॉक्यूमेंट को बनाने के पीछे क्या कारण रहे, क्या प्रेरणा रही, वहां से हम इस बात को आज शुरू करेंगे। जब हम देश में बच्चों की समस्याओं की बात करते हैं, तब हमको ये ध्यान में रखना चाहिए कि बहुत सी समस्याएं ऐसी हैं जिनके हल विदेशों से नहीं लाए जा सकते। खास तौर पे जब हम मानव बाल अधिकारों की बात जब हम करना भारत में शुरू करते हैं, तो हमको ऐतिहासिक पृष्ठभूमि में कुछ चीजों को देखना पड़ेगा। और मैं बड़ी जिम्मेदारी से ये बात आज कह सकता हूँ कि जो डॉक्यूमेंट हम लोगों ने तैयार किया है, जो प्रिवेंटिव मेजर्स आप लोगों के बीच में हमने आज साझा किए हैं, जो कमीशन की वेबसाइट पे भी आज अपलोड किए गए हैं, वो चाइल्ड सेंट्रिक नहीं है। और ये बड़ी जिम्मेदारी से मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, हमने बच्चों की सुरक्षा के लिए फैमिली सेंट्रिक मेजर्स सुझाए हैं और बताए हैं, और उस पर काम करने की अपेक्षा हमारे राज्य बाल अधिकार संरक्षण आयोगों के माध्यम से हम सभी लोग कर रहे हैं। देखिए, जब भी हम बात करते हैं खास तौर पे भारत में, तो हमको ये देखना होगा कि भारत में प्रथम इकाई बच्चे को संरक्षण देने के लिए परिवार है। हम परिवार से डिटेच करके बच्चे के संरक्षण की अवधारणा को नहीं रख सकते हैं। और जब हम मानव तस्करी के विरुद्ध संघर्ष की बात करते हैं, तो हमको ये स्वीकार करना होगा कि भारत ने दुनिया को राह दिखाई। जी हाँ, जब हम मानव अधिकारों की बात करते हैं, तो भारतीय दर्शन और भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा ने दुनिया भर के मानव अधिकारों के सिनेरियो को प्रभावित किया है। मानव मूल्य भारतीय संस्कृति का हमेशा से आधार रहे हैं। बहुत ही प्रमाणिक तथ्यों के साथ मैं आपको बताना चाहूंगा कि दुनिया में मानव तस्करी के विरोध में एक बड़ा आंदोलन, जो गिरमिटिया लोगों के आंदोलन के नाम से दुनिया में जाना जाता है, वो महात्मा गांधी जी की प्रेरणा से शुरू हुआ। महात्मा गांधी जी ने गिरमिटिया संघर्ष की पूरी दुनिया में शुरुआत की, और जो साउथ अफ्रीका शासन द्वारा, ब्रिटिश शासन द्वारा तस्करी करके ले जाए जा रहे भारत के मजदूर थे, उनके हक की, उनके हुकूक की, उनके अधिकारों की बात महात्मा गांधी ने सबसे पहले की। और वहां से आधुनिक दुनिया का, आधुनिक काल का जो मानव अधिकार और जो तस्करी के विरोध का आंदोलन है, या तस्करी के विरोध की सारी नियम कानून, इन सब की अवधारणा रखाना शुरू हुई। निश्चित रूप से हमको ये मानना पड़ेगा कि महात्मा गांधी से ज्यादा सशक्त और प्रमाणिक हस्ताक्षर आज की तारीख में मानव अधिकारों की बात करने के लिए कोई नहीं है। इसलिए हमको वापस जाना चाहिए, हमको अपने दर्शन, महात्मा गांधी को जिन दर्शनों ने प्रभावित किया उनकी तरफ देखना चाहिए। और गांधी जी हमेशा परिवार को एक यूनिट मानते आए थे। पूरी दुनिया जानती है कि बाल तस्करी का सबसे बड़ा कारण गरीबी है, लेकिन पॉवर्टी एलिवेशन कैसे हो, गरीबी को कैसे खत्म किया जाए, क्या हम बच्चे को उसके परिवार से छीन कर किसी चिल्ड्रन होम में रख दें, ये हल है? या ये हल हो सकता है? देखिए, सरकारों का काम सहारा देने का होता है, परिवारों का काम पालन करने का होता है। सरकार परिवारों को सहारा दे और परिवार बच्चों का पालन पोषण सुनिश्चित करे, इस चीज को आज ध्यान में रखने की आवश्यकता है। इसलिए हमको ये देखना होगा कि भारत से सांस्कृतिक मूल्यों की जो विरासत है वो पूरी दुनिया ने जब साझा की है, चाहे वो मौर्यकालीन ऐश्वर्य और वैभव हो, चाहे वो गौतम बुद्ध के वैराग्य की परंपरा हो, हमारी बौद्धिक संपदा पूरी दुनिया में गई है। फिर हम पूरी दुनिया के जो विचार हैं वो हो सकता है उनके देशों में बहुत ज्यादा मौजूद हो और उनके देशों में बहुत ज्यादा फिट होते हो, लेकिन भारत में हमको इंडियन कॉन्टेक्स्ट में समाधान कॉन्सेप्चुअलाइज करने पड़ेंगे। और उस दिशा में आगे बढ़ते हुए आयोग ने ये सभी राज्य सरकारों की प्रेरणा से और बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस को ध्यान में रखते हुए एक चीज जो तय की है वो सबसे पहले ये कि बच्चों की वल्नरेबिलिटी की मैपिंग होना चाहिए। हमने कुछ इंडिकेटर्स निकाले हैं और बहुत ही सामान्य इंडिकेटर्स हैं। जुवेनाइल जस्टिस एक्ट की धारा 45 के अंतर्गत जो बच्चे स्पॉन्सरशिप के लिए अधिभागी होते हैं वे बच्चे, ऐसे बच्चे जो ड्रॉप आउट हैं, जो आउट ऑफ स्कूल हैं, जिनके परिवार में नशे की आदत है, जो इस तरीके के परिवार में रह रहे हैं जहाँ डिसेबिलिटीज के कारण कमाई करने में उनके माता पिता अक्षम हैं, ये सब वो कारण हैं जो एक फैमिली को उस वल्नरेबिलिटी की ओर ले जाते हैं जहां बच्चे की तस्करी होने की संभावना बढ़ती है। तो गांव में, किसी भी गांव में सरपंच से लेकर के आंगनवाड़ी कार्यकर्ता तक एक 10-11 लोग होते हैं जिनकी ये जिम्मेदारी है, जिनका ये कर्तव्य है कि बच्चों के अधिकार खासतौर पे ये सुनिश्चित हो कि उनकी जो बेसिक फंडामेंटल राइट्स हैं वो उन्हें मिले, वो चाहे शिक्षा हो, चाहे स्वास्थ्य हो, चाहे जीवन जीने का अधिकार हो। तो इन सभी अथॉरिटीज को गांव में बैठ के जब बात करनी है तो गांव में 10 परिवार, 5 परिवार ऐसे वल्नरेबल निकालना कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है। अब इन वल्नरेबल परिवारों के लिए भारत सरकार की जो स्कीम्स है, हमने कोई भी एडिशनल फंडिंग कहीं डिमांड नहीं की है। हमने कहीं ये बात नहीं कही है कि भाई किसी की जेब में आप अलग से पैसा डालिए। बहुत छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं, मनरेगा का जॉब कार्ड है, बीपीएल कार्ड है, उसका मिड डे मील का राशन उसके घर तक पहुंच जाए। कोविड-19 के दौरान जो फैमिलीज बाहर से गांव में पहुंची हैं उनके सारे बच्चे स्कूल्स में एनरोल हो जाएं, केवल इसलिए कि मिड डे मील का राशन टीचर्स उनके घर तक पहुंचा दें, आंगनवाड़ी में उनका एनरोलमेंट हो जाए, किसी परिवार को नेशनल रूरल लाइवलीहुड मिशन का लाभ मिलना चाहिए वो मिल जाए, किसी को डिसेबिलिटी पेंशन का लाभ मिलना चाहिए। ये बहुत ही छोटी छोटी वो चीजें हैं जो भारत सरकार की 31 स्कीम्स में निहित है। राज्यों में अपने अपनी और भी स्कीम्स हैं जिनको राज्यवार इसमें जोड़ा जाना चाहिए और ये उनके अधिकार है। ये एक परिवार का अधिकार है, ये सरकार का वो सहारा है परिवार को जिससे कि वो बच्चे का संरक्षण और पालन सुनिश्चित कर सकता है। इन सबको ट्रैक करने का काम हमारे स्टेट कमीशन के साथ राष्ट्रीय बाल आयोग करने को तत्पर है। सभी राज्य सरकारों से मेरा आज यही अनुरोध है कि इस प्रकार के प्रिवेंटिव मेजर्स को लेकर जब हम काम करेंगे तो निश्चित रूप से हम बच्चों को गाँव में घर में रोकने में सक्षम हो सकेंगे। बाकी जो ट्रांजिट हॉटस्पॉट्स हैं या जो डेस्टिनेशंस हैं, उनको लेकर केवल 2 बातें मैं आपके बीच में आज यहाँ रखना चाहूंगा। ट्रांजिट को लेके हमारे जो भी एनजीओ, जो भी वॉरियर्स, मैं उनको कहता हूँ हमेशा, जो रेस्क्यू का काम करने जाते हैं, उनको राष्ट्रीय बाल आयोग की ओर से मैं ये आश्वासन देना चाहता हूँ कि वो जब भी रेस्क्यू कर रहे हैं और आयोग, हमारे किसी भी राज्य बाल आयोग की जानकारी में अगर ये विषय है कि कोई रेस्क्यू करने के लिए फील्ड पर कोई वॉलंटियर काम कर रहा है, तो उसकी सुरक्षा की चिंता करने की जिम्मेदारी हमारी है। वो केवल हमको सूचना दें। हमको मालूम है कि ट्रैफिकर्स से झगड़ते हुए, ट्रैफिकर्स से लड़ते हुए हमारे वॉलंटियर्स का जीवन खतरे में होता है, वो चाइल्ड लाइन के वॉलंटियर हो या वो एनजीओ में काम करने वाले लोग हो। मैं अपने सभी राज्य बाल आयोगों के साथ ये जिम्मेदारी लेता हूं कि जब कभी भी वे सूचित करेंगे हमको, उनकी सुरक्षा की पूरी जिम्मेदारी हम लेंगे और ये सुनिश्चित करने का प्रयास करेंगे कि राज्य सरकारों की, जिले की अथॉरिटीज इससे अवगत रहे और उनको पूरा सहयोग मिले। दूसरी चीज जो मैं आज यहाँ पे कहना चाहूंगा, हमको कई दफा ये समस्या आती है कि रेस्क्यू करने के बाद बच्चों को रखे कहाँ। देश में चिल्ड्रन होम्स की जो संख्या है, 7,164 चिल्ड्रन होम्स की जानकारी आयोग के पास है। दुर्भाग्य देश में इस बात का है कि करीब 13 जिले ऐसे हैं जहाँ लगभग 100 चिल्ड्रन होम है, 4 जिले ऐसे हैं जहाँ 100 से भी ज्यादा चिल्ड्रन होम है, और देश में 150 जिले ऐसे हैं जहाँ चिल्ड्रन होम नहीं है। तो वहां पे तत्काल CWCs, जुवेनाइल जस्टिस एक्ट की धारा 51 के अंतर्गत एक फिट फैसिलिटी डिक्लेयर कर दें। अभी हॉस्टल्स खाली हैं, अभी स्कूल्स खाली हैं, कहीं भी फिट फैसिलिटी डिक्लेयर हो सकती है। मैं जगह का नाम लेके बता सकता हूँ, जलपाईगुड़ी है, मुगल सराय, जिसको हम दीनदयाल उपाध्याय जंक्शन कहते हैं, दीनदयाल उपाध्याय जंक्शन पे हमको आज भी समस्या है कि कोई फैसिलिटी, कोई चिल्ड्रन होम नहीं है। बच्चों को बंगाल से, बच्चे आसाम से ट्रैफिक होकर आता है, तो ये ट्रांजिट पॉइंट हमेशा यूज किया जाता है। यहाँ पे बहुत बच्चे रेस्क्यू होते हैं, लेकिन चिल्ड्रन होम के अभाव में उनको मिर्जापुर तक भेजना पड़ता है। ऐसी जगहों पे तत्काल फिट फैसिलिटीज का डिक्लेयर होना बहुत आवश्यक है। कोई एडिशनल फंडिंग नहीं चाहिए। सरकार की जो मौजूदा व्यवस्था है, अभी स्कूल जब तक बंद है, हॉस्टल जब तक बंद है, तब तक उनका इस्तेमाल इसके लिए तत्कालिक रूप से किया जाना चाहिए। जो हमारे डेस्टिनेशंस हैं, उनमें केवल आप सभी प्रबुद्ध लोग जो इस वेबिनार को सुन रहे हैं, आप सभी से केवल एक विनती है, रेसिडेंट वेलफेयर एसोसिएशन RWAs में घरों में बात करिए। लॉयंस क्लब है, रोटरी क्लब है, जितने प्रकार के क्लब्स हैं, और ये लॉकडाउन के दौरान या अनलॉक की इस प्रोसेस के दौरान भी हमको एक लाभ है कि लोग घरों पर हैं, बच्चे घरों पे हैं। इस अपॉर्चुनिटी का लाभ उठाइए। डोमेस्टिक हेल्प के नाम पे बच्चों को नहीं रखा जा सकता। बच्चों की तस्करी का एक सबसे बड़ा कारण सेक्स ट्रेड के बाद यह है कि डोमेस्टिक हेल्प के नाम पे बच्चे लाए जाते हैं। मैं यहाँ पे एक चीज बहुत स्पष्ट करना चाहूंगा कि बाल श्रम निरोधक अधिनियम जो इस देश में है, वो 14 साल की उम्र तक जिस तरीके से काम करने की इजाजत देता है, उसमें डोमेस्टिक हेल्प शामिल नहीं हो सकता। घरों में बाहर से बच्चों को लाके रख के उस कानून का उल्लंघन होता है, और इसमें मुकदमे दर्ज ज्यादा से ज्यादा करवाए जाने चाहिए, होने चाहिए, और सभी प्रबुद्ध लोगों को ऐसे पीड़ित बच्चों के बारे में रिपोर्ट करना चाहिए। यहाँ 15 से 18 की आयु में काम करने की कोई इजाजत नहीं दी जा सकती, क्योंकि उस तरीके की व्यवस्थाएं नहीं होती, उस तरीके की सुविधाएं नहीं होती। इसलिए इस तरीके के सारे मामलों को तुरंत निषेध करना चाहिए। आप सभी लोग आज जुड़े हैं, आप सभी का एक बार पुनः बहुत स्वागत, बहुत अभिनंदन, बहुत धन्यवाद। चारू जी से आग्रह करूंगा कि इस वेबिनार को आगे की ओर ले चलें। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद आपके संबोधन के लिए, और जिस तरीके से आपने सिविल सोसाइटी को इस मूवमेंट का हिस्सा बनाया है, वो बहुत ही अच्छी बात है। और ये एक ऐसी चीज है जिसके बारे में हम सब बात कर सकते हैं, समाज में इसके बारे में जागरूकता फैला सकते हैं। और आपने सही कहा, सेक्स ट्रेड के बाद डोमेस्टिक हेल्प जो लोग रखते हैं बिना जाने बिना समझे, और ये पता करने की कोशिश नहीं करते कि ये बच्चे कहाँ से आए हैं, उनकी सही उम्र क्या है, ये बहुत ही गलत है। और ये सुनकर मुझे भी और मुझे पता है सुनने वाले बाकी सब लोगों को भी बहुत खुशी हुई कि हम हर एक माइन्यूट चीज को कवर करके प्रिवेंशन पर काम कर रहे हैं। और एनसीपीसीआर एक बहुत ही पावरफुल बॉडी की तरह काम कर रही है to prevent human trafficking, especially when it comes to children. I'd like to introduce our next speaker for today. अनामिका सिंह जी एक आईएएस ऑफिसर हैं 2004 बैच की और यूपी काडर है मैम का, एंड शी हैज आल्सो गॉट tremendous experience in the field of education. She has worked with HRD ministry previously, and now ma'am is a director with the Niti Aayog. We are really looking forward to your address now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charu. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so very good evening to all the participants of this workshop and session. And especially I'm very thankful to Chairperson of NCPCR, Shri Kanumbuji, for having me here. It's always a pleasure to join these discussions, and we all get to learn a lot. And I think today is it's extra important because we are all observing the World Day Against Trafficking in Person with a focus on children. As we all know, human trafficking is a monstrous crime which robs people of their freedom and basic human dignity. Observing this day is an effort to bring the world to engage together, build momentum, and commit to combat and eliminate this heinous practice. We have already heard from Chairperson Sir about the enormity of this situation and the enormity of this problem, though it is a global phenomena, but unfortunately, human trafficking still continues to remain a significant problem in our country. And the women and girls, they are the most vulnerable. They are paying the highest price of this inhuman practice. According to the NCRB data, even as latest as 2018, 5,800 victims were trafficked in India, out of which 64% were women and 36% were men, and around 50% of them were children. Again, quoting NCRB data, 2018, sexual exploitation for prostitution was the primary purpose for which trafficking occurred, followed by human labor, as has already been explained by Chairperson Sahab. These two emerged as the biggest reason for human trafficking. Other reasons apart from this included forced marriage, domestic help, begging, drug peddling, internet pornography, and so on. However, as we know that human trafficking is difficult to measure, it is important to also analyze the data on missing person, as it can reveal cases of human trafficking and bring them to the fore. It is also crucial to understand the complex web of drivers causing human trafficking. Overall poverty, low level of education, limited livelihood opportunities, and migration, where people are vulnerable, and this section of people become more prone to trafficking. Poverty and lack of local livelihood opportunities drive families and children towards cities in expectation of jobs, and in many cases, these children end up being trafficked. Worryingly, also, I would like to highlight, and as this report has come as a very opportune time, because we are all hearing and seeing reports that these causes have amplified during the crisis, during lockdown and during COVID-19, which has given rise to dangers of increase in trafficking cases, loss of job, growing poverty, school closure, and rise in online interactions are increasing the vulnerabilities, especially of people and groups like children who are already in the danger mark. In fact, during the COVID-19 induced lockdown period till June 2020, Childline, the nodal ministry from MOWCD, which records distress calls, received more than 5,500 phone calls for prevention of child marriages, and they recorded an increase in certain crimes, sometimes to the tune of even threefold than what was the normal trend during last year of the same period. So in this context and in this backdrop, once again, I'm very happy, and it gives us great pleasure to see that this document, Preventing Child Trafficking Post-Lockdown Situation due to COVID pandemic, has been formulated, and it is ready and readied by NCPCR. We have seen the document. It very comprehensively lists down recommendations for preventing child trafficking, because it is a problem which, if nipped in the bud, can really be very helpful when we look at it from the preventive perspective, rather than what to do once the problem is right there in front of us. The focus of the report is on preventive measures such as identification at source, identification of transit areas, destination, and hotspot states. The report also covers aspects like identification of potential vulnerable families and children, detailing out role of different stakeholders, generating awareness among vulnerable families, and sensitization of different stakeholders. It also talks about instituting surveillance system at potential hotspot areas like railways and bus stations, etc. And maintenance of a centralized data system. I think this is something, because this is a problem which spans across ministries, and it is something which where coordination and convergence is most important, and that is one thing which creates problems. The report does talk about a centralized data system for all information related to trafficking, and also the involvement of NGOs and CSOs is very crucial, because they are the people working in the field, they are the people who are present at the grassroots. If we involve them in this work, if we make them aware, they can be very important partners and collaborators in this entire work. I think I will end my conversation. I'll end my piece here at this stage. I can always pitch in at a later point of time. And once again, with these words, thank you so much for having me here. It is always a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, your mic is muted, ma'am. Charu, ma'am,
Charu,
your
we
mic
can't
is
hear you.
muted.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I am so sorry.
No
And
worries.
there I was
No worries.
thanking Anamika
No worries.
with so
Thank
much
you.
of energy and passion. But let
Thank
me
you.
repeat a little bit of what I have said. The statistics that Anamika ji has quoted today is horrifying. It doesn't matter how many times we read it, how many times we hear it, but it's every single time so touching and so horrifying. And I'm so glad here is a group of people who are working night and day to create awareness and make sure we prevent human trafficking, especially when it starts at such a young and tender age. Thank you so much again, ma'am. Moving on to our next speaker for today, Rajesh Kumar ji, director at the Narcotics Control Bureau. And even though human trafficking, and especially when it pertains to children, is not something that is directly a part of Narcotics Control Bureau, but as I'm sure we're all aware, a lot of narcotics could be misused while kids or even young adults are trapped and human trafficking happens. So I'm sure Rajesh ji can shed a lot of light in the misuse of narcotics for human trafficking. Over to you, Rajesh, sir.
Can you hear me, everybody? Hello?
Yes, sir, you're
Am I
Yes, sir.
audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, and good evening to all of you. I was just listening to the address given by the eminent personalities, and it's very true that child abuse and human trafficking is the cornerstone problem of our country. As far as drugs are concerned, as we all know, that school-going children, adolescents, they all take drugs. Most of, as per a survey, around around 1.8% of the school-going children or adolescents use cannabis. And as far as alcohol is concerned, it is around 1.8. So the problem is big, given the we can say the number of school-going children or adolescents in our population. It consists of roughly of, if we consider 45% of our population as we, sorry, it is 39% of our total population in the country. So in drugs or narcotics, to be precise, to say that there are some groups which are more vulnerable as compared to others. For example, street children and street children and dropout children from the schools and other children who are below the poverty line. So with what NCB is doing in this regard, that we are having coordination meetings with Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, and we do have discussions with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, so that in case of so that we can provide some relief in form of harm reduction, or we can say treatment to these children. And secondly, one of the most important aspect related to drugs, I will speak about the drugs because this is our main domain area. Through these civic action programs or through campaigns like that we have celebrated a few days back, back on 26 June, International Day against drug abuse and illicit trafficking. In this contest, around 50, around more than, you can say, 55,000 children or young persons participated, and they were made about the ill effects of this drug menace in our society. So in a way, we are contributing a bit towards a drug-free society. We just want to make aware all the children and the young children of our country that drugs are bad. We should never touch it, and we should create awareness that nobody takes drugs in our society. As per the vision of our country, as the Prime Minister of our country has said, there should be free India by 2023, and we are working for it. Thank you. Any questions or any clarifications from the eminent personality?
I think Charu has lost the connection. Thank you, Rajesh ji. Thank you so much for being with us on this important topic and for this webinar. Thank you so much. Now, Charu has joined again, I think. Charu, over to you. Your mic is muted. Unmute your mic.
Apologies, Priyank sir. My network became very shaky suddenly, but I am delighted to be back. Thank you so much, Rajesh sir, for your address. Moving on to Ananya ma'am now. Let me give a little bit of an introduction about her before we listen to her. Ananya ji is the SCPCR chairperson for the state of West Bengal. And I was reading up a little bit about her, and I realized here is a real life hero because she started at an age where she was very young. She was one of the key people who prevented a kidnapping from taking place right under her nose. And since then, she has been an activist, and she's done a lot of work for gender equality. She has made a lot of documentaries, and she has a lot of experience in media, both print and television. And ma'am is heading West Bengal for NCPCR. And West Bengal, as we all know, is also a key state when it comes to human trafficking. It's one of the most sensitive regions in India, and she has been active on ground for a very long time. She's collected a lot of experience because she's remained focused on this issue. She's worked against trafficking in South Asia as a whole, and I'm looking forward to her address very much. Thank you, Ananya ma'am.
Thank you, Charuji. I think, first of all, thank you, Priyank ji, for taking the effort of bringing out such a comprehensive document. There are some areas which need to be worked on in West Bengal. I mean, I couldn't really give my suggestions in time, but by and large, it's okay, and it was very important that you bring out this document. And the document focuses on some key factors like prevention, because I think that is the most important thing. Because once the case of trafficking happens, then the process of rehabilitation is a long and tedious one, rescue and rehabilitation. And we know that how painstaking it can be. So to start with, from what Priyank sir was saying, I would like to pick up from there. In West Bengal, from March, the government has been giving the rations to all school children, to the parents. The parents are asked to come to the school and pick up the rations for the midday meal from March itself. And for ICDS also, they have done the same. From March itself, all ICDS parents have been asked to come to the ICDS center and collect the rations for the month. And it is still continuing. So that is one way of ensuring that there is some food in the house at least, that nobody goes hungry. And of course, there are free rations, as we all know. We have been, I have some data with me from Childline, which is not the entire data from West Bengal. We have had from March till 31st May, we had 106 cases of not just trafficking, but child marriage and trafficking, but 85% of these were prevented. They were either rescued or they were prevented on time. And for the rest, the cases that were reported, some turned out to be false cases, which is they were actually more than 18, or there was some neighborly problem, etc. And some could not be prevented because we got to a little late, immediately after the marriage happened, but still we managed to go there, or somebody managed to go there and get the child, we managed to get the marriage annulled. The thing is, what Childline says is, and we all know that many child marriage cases are actually child trafficking cases. They actually end up in child trafficking cases. And I think Sunita will understand the situation because of the floods that are happening in Assam right now. We had a double whammy. We had the COVID situation as well as the Amphan. And the Amphan devastated large parts of South 24 Parganas, as well as some parts of North 24 Parganas, the Sundarbans especially. And so there have been a lot of relief work that has been happening there, not only from the state, but also from individuals, from NGOs, from individuals. There have been groups of civil society who have been going there and giving relief, which is wonderful, to take up ownership. The civil society has taken up ownership to do something for that area. But one of our members mentioned that a lot of relief is going there, but the children, their books have been washed away. All their study materials have been washed away by the flood. So they are unable to, they are unable to read anything or write anything, even on their own. The schools are closed, but at least if they had some reading material. So what we did was we put up a small post on our Facebook page saying that we would like to give some books to the children whose books have been washed away by Amphan. So if you have old storybooks at home or old textbooks at home, please give it to our office at SCPCR. So we received a huge response from that. And people not only contributed storybooks, but they also contributed school books and exercise books, pencils, rubbers, crayons, drawing books, etc., and a lot of other things. So we made 3 trips to the South 24 Parganas, Goshaba, Pathar Pratima, and Kakdeep, where we gave out school bags with a lot of study material and storybooks to the children. Because we felt that if children read, if they have an engagement, they study and they read and they write and they paint, then they have an engagement, then the chances are that they will not, they will not be lost, they will not go out. And their parents, what is happening is that the parents are saying, very poor families there, that a girl is not going to school for several months, she's sitting at home, let's get her married. That is what is happening. Or if the boy is sitting at home not doing anything, let's put him into some kind of labor. So what we felt is that, if we can give them some occupation, something to be occupied with, that then at least, they will have something to do, and their parents will also see that they are doing something. So that is one thing that we tried for prevention of any kind of trafficking or child marriage or child labor. The other thing that we did is that the Madrasa board came to us saying that we have worked for several years and managed to put almost in the madrasas, and the dropout rate is very low. Till the age of 14, boys don't drop out, and girls complete their education, but a lot of boys drop out at 14 and go out to work. So they feared that after the COVID situation, is somewhat relieved and schools reopen, there will be a landslide. There will be a huge slide of dropouts. So what to do to prevent that? So we did a training workshop with we trained about 20 highly motivated madrasa teachers to tell them how to motivate students to come back to school. So that would be there would be a cascade effect to that. So they would be taking those training sessions with more teachers in their area, etc. And that has really worked. So they show inspirational films. We said that you don't have to necessarily teach them to them, just read out storybooks to them, so that they should remain in the habit of studying. They should remain in the habit of reading and studying and all that. And that too has worked. So this is what we have been trying to do to ensure that children are well, they stay well. Apart from, of course, the VLCPC is doing their jobs and the DCPO is doing their jobs, the police doing their jobs. The police in West Bengal, the police has been really doing an exemplary job, and we are very happy with that. So I end here. If later on, if anybody wants to ask me any questions, I'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your address. And I'm always very happy when I hear about initiatives which are involving people from other sections of society to be an active role player to prevent human trafficking. And that's the best way to go about it. The more there is awareness, the more there is involvement, the more are going to be the reductions in the number of human trafficking cases. And seeing your initiatives, I'm very hopeful West Bengal is going to start showing the results even in a much better way than ever before, very, very soon. So thank you once again, ma'am, for your address, and we'll come back with questions if there are any right at the end. Our next speaker for today is Dr. D.K. Saxena ji. And Saxena sir has been someone who's been working on a lot of child-related issues, and I will go over a little bit of Sir's profile right now. Sir is an IFS officer of Jharkhand cadre, and he's currently the DG for the State Nutrition Mission for the state of Jharkhand. And he's done a lot of work both at the national level and at the state level in the social development sector. Presently in his state, he is also the person who is in charge of implementation of the integrated child protection scheme. Apart from this, sir has also been very much instrumental in leading a project which is set up by the World Bank on socio-economic empowerment of teenage girls and young women. So this project is also something that I'm very interested in hearing about, sir. And Jharkhand, very similar to West Bengal, is another state which is facing a lot of issues. When we compare data from the rest of the country to the state of Jharkhand, Jharkhand is on the red area, because the numbers and the statistics are very, very high for the state of Jharkhand. So we'd like to understand the reasons for that, sir, and also the present projects that you're working on.
Thank you, Charuji, for the nice words. A very good evening to Faculty Chairperson, NCPCR, Dr. PM Nair, our guiding force when we are working in the field of prevention of human trafficking. Chairpersons, SCPCR from West Bengal and Assam, Anamika ji and Rajesh ji. It's a pleasure to be here in this session with the people who have been working in the area. And this is a very opportune day also. In fact, we are meeting on the World Day against trafficking in persons with focus on children. These are the occasions which give us the opportunity to look back on our efforts, what we have done, how much we have achieved, what are our shortcomings, do we need to have any course corrections, do we have to have any change in approach. So these are the moments when we sit together and decide what should have been our strategy, what should be our strategy. And this is the occasion that we are meeting here. I'm really grateful to the NCPCR to have brought these guidelines oriented on the prevention part of the human trafficking and focused on the empowerment of the family. There could not have been a more opportune time for this. I'm really thankful for to the NCPCR to release these documents yesterday. Now, everybody will agree, and the chairperson NCPCR had also said that the poverty has been one of the major cause for the human trafficking. Now, there are many difficult situations which create an ecosystem for bringing this type of situation, for creating this type of ecosystem which aid to the human trafficking. It can be poverty, it can be lack of resources, paucity of cash at the families, school dropouts, forced marriage or the child marriage, child labor, psychological depression, the state in which we find the children and the families, and COVID-19 has added a new dimension to the whole process. So when we are encountered with such type of situation, we have to have a communication with the people, with the children, how they can be brought out of these the difficult situation, how the families can be brought out of the difficult situation, and that is what I would like to have I would like to share the information about a project that we are doing in Jharkhand. This project is all about the socio-economic development, empowerment, not development, socio-economic empowerment of adolescent girls and young women in the state. And this is a group which is the most precariously placed as far as the human trafficking is concerned in the state. I was asked why this state is having such a big problem. It has been a problem in this state. Historically, it has been a problem, and there are many difficult situations which aid to the perpetrators of this type of crime in the state of Jharkhand. Now, so we have tried to create a platform of these girls, adolescent girls and young women in the state. Now, we have registered around 1.2 million girls in this on this platform till now. 1.2 million girls, and they have been mobilized and they have been organized in 12,840 youth clubs at the village level. Now, what is the purpose of creating this group? Is the first is bringing a group dynamics in these youth clubs. So, if the girls are faced with certain difficult situation, and if a single girl, individual girl, is not able to counter the situation, a group of these girls, youth club, together they can counter this these situations, whatever difficulties they are having. Now, so this is bringing a group dynamics in the whole group, so that it makes a very strong unit, very versatile unit. Now, the other part, then it is followed by imparting various life skills to them. I told that these are the different difficult situations that are faced by the adolescent girls, particularly in the state, and we have to tell them how they have to have how they have to be more resilient to come out of these situations. So what we have done, that we have prepared 4 very comprehensive modules on life skills, and we are imparting these life skills to these girls. So first is the resilience building and soft skills. So resilience building, how these, and we are telling them, we are imparting these skills to these girls, how they can come out of this difficult situation. This difficult situation, I told you, maybe of the child marriage, maybe school dropout, maybe trafficking. How they have to assess. There are some difficult situations coming up in the villages. So we are imparting these skills to these girls so that they become more resilient, more united, and they can counter these type of offensive whenever they are faced. So this is the first part. The second part is that we are imparting these skills to know what are their strengths, what are their rights, and what is the support system available to them. I mean, many girls or many people at the village level, might have created many apps, many instruments, many tools, many mechanisms also. But then the thing is that whether the people are to whom these apps are to be used, who have to use these instruments, whether they are aware about it. So we are telling these girls, we are teaching these girls, we are empowering these girls with this type of information. What are their rights, and what is the support system which is available? Let's say, what are the different institutions they can go to? What is how they can go to a police thana? What is the Mahila Thana? What is the child-friendly police station? How they can lodge an FIR? So all these things we are these information that we are passing on to them, and we are imparting these skills to them on a very comprehensive way. Because this project is also about the economic empowerment of the girls through imparting market-driven skills to them, particularly developing on the wage employment, and also the development of the entrepreneurship at the village level, or things or in their surroundings. So we are also imparting them the skills on financial literacy. What is savings? What is money? How they can get the capital if they want to develop a project, if they want to develop some enterprise, from where they can get the capital? What are the institutions about that? So this is all part of that. And the fourth one, which is very dear to me, is health and nutrition. How the girls can take care of their health, how the girls can take care of their nutrition, so that they become healthy individuals, so that they become an individual who can take care of their family, and who can take care of their children, who can take care of the careers, who can develop things, who can develop some real good paths for them. And then we are, after these life skills are completed, and I'm happy to share with you that till now, we have 1.2 million girls with us. Around 4.5 lakh girls have been imparted these skills. So every module we impart these skills very comprehensively. These girls don't have to go anywhere. We have created a whole structure where where the people who are training these girls, they go to their doorstep, they go to their villages, and they impart these skills. These girls don't have to go anywhere. So we have taken the safety and security aspects of the girls also in the project. So this is all about that. And then once we impart these life skills, and these girls are in a situation to go further, then we have to impart the market-driven skills to them. So we have made a survey that what are the priority areas in which these girls can be imparted their skills. So we will be imparting the market-driven skills, which are oriented to the business development and oriented to the job development to these girls. So this is what this project is all about. It's a very ambitious project, and it aims at the socio-economic empowerment of the girls, so that they can take care of themselves. And they can take care of themselves, they can take care of their family, and so there's a change in the community. So it's about the knowledge management. It's about passing the right type of information to them, and it's making them more resilient. It's making them more strong, and it's all about making them work in a group. So they feel very enlightened, they feel very empowered that there's a whole group and we are not alone. So this is all about that. So this is very, very important thing that we are working on which is giving a demand push. I mean, we expect there is certain demand from the people, from these girls, that we need this, we need these services, we need to be empowered. So this is all about creating that type of platform in the state. I think it will start showing results very soon. And then this is all about the system strengthening, which we have been talked about, the guidelines that have just come up, the process that have been outlined by the NCPCR is strengthening of child protection committees. I mean, the one part that I am looking after, that we have created these child protection committees at the village level also, but somehow they have not been functional. So what we are doing is that this project that is called Tejaswini, these clubs also have been interested to create a register of all the children up to 18 years in the village. And they have been trained that if there are any migration of these children, if they find any child missing from this register, they can take care and they can talk to the appropriate firm. So this is all about that. At this moment, I'll stop here, and we can again come back when there will be discussion on that. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much, sir. And all these initiatives are actually very inspiring. And I especially like the last one that you were mentioning, where we are using older girls to keep track of the younger ones. And it's such a beautiful way of keeping the community involved and making girls feel responsible for each other. And one more key thing that I want to point out, even though we are short of time now, is the importance you're laying on economic independence and knowledge. I think that is one thing that empowers women, and it cannot be taken in a less serious manner, because the more economically independent and knowledgeable a woman is, the lesser are the chances of her getting taken for a ride by anyone at all. So thank you again so much, sir, for all your in-depth analysis, and I for sure am definitely coming back to you to learn more from you. Moving on to our next speaker for today, we have Dr. Sunita Changakoti ji with us from Assam, who is the chairperson for SCPCR for the state of Assam. And I have in the recent years been reading about a lot of cases which involve human trafficking, especially for children, for the state of Assam. And Sunita ji has also made some very interesting and strong statements when it comes to human trafficking, the reasons behind it, and how Assam can deal with it in a much better way. Ma'am, I am delighted and looking forward to hearing your address. Ma'am, can you hear me? Sunita ji? आप muted है, ma'am. Can someone from NCPCR help Sunita ji? Yeah, she's unmuted now. Sunita ma'am, can you hear me?
Sorry, my connection is disturbing. It's very unfortunate. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, now you're audible.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
I think Sunita ma'am is still
Yes,
facing some.
we can hear you, Sunita ji. She can't hear us.
Can you hear me now? Today I'm having
can hear you.
network issues. Most of the
I'm
presentations I have not been. Can you hear now?
So
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I just like to speak in very brief, because I don't know how long the connection will be there. Internet connection will be there. Today there is an internet issue from my end. So what I would like to say is the roles and responsibilities, the SOP which has been prepared, it is fantastic, and everything has been very clearly defined. Just we don't have we have nothing much to comment or discuss on this, but a few points in regards to Assam I would like to mention that the most of the trafficking cases are happening from the tea gardens because, as you know, Assam is there are about more than 1,000 tea gardens are there. So tea gardens and the villages nearby the tea gardens. So that is a very big issue. And also, as Ananya has already mentioned, the child marriage, it is among the tribal communities, there is the prevalence of child marriage, mostly elopement, and that leads to the child trafficking. So these are the very important issues which we have been trying to address. And most of the trafficking cases are happening through child marriage and from the tea garden and its nearby villages. Also, there are some other issues, like as you all of us know, that the number of dropout, because of the dropout children, the children finding no any avenues for earning. So the children opt to go outside the state, and then they fall prey to the traffickers. But the thing is, it is a bitter truth that when the children, most of the children we have experienced is that the children have been, after they are brought back, like those children who are engaged, who have already started earning money through beggary or through slavery or through sex work. Once they have experienced earning of money here, they make comparison that they are not going to get money even if they are rehabilitated. So this is a very important issue which has to be looked into. Like now, I would say that the Honorable Prime Minister Atmanirbhar Bharat, this island, like enough of trafficking, and I mean for the families of the victims of the trafficking. And also the MGNREGA scheme should include specifically the children, families of the children of traffic victim, so that or then another important aspect we need to do is panchayat system. We have the panchayat system, which is very strong because it is deep grassroots. It is as closely in the grassroots level. So the panchayat, the mapping is very important. Mapping by the panchayat system STEM among the vulnerable families. The vulnerable family should be identified and the preferences should be given MG or whatever the government schemes are there. Now there are thousands of government schemes with all of us know. So these schemes should, the vulnerable families, there should be a mapping of the vulnerable families. These families should make avail of these schemes so that the trafficking can be stopped. Then another issue from the government in Assam, the AHTO, human trafficking units, anti-human trafficking units are not that active. Although proactively, our police department of Assam government is has intervened all the cases of trafficking. But unfortunately, because of their multiple roles, multiple responsibilities, the police department, the AHT, the trafficking cases, many of the reporting is very late, that the whatever data is not true. Know that many of the 50% of the parents or the community have been trafficked, or there is 4 years have been missing. Is available with us that CWC or this DCPO, so available with the child protection mechanism, but the real data is still to be collected. It is a very tough job, and we have to do that. And of course, the Panchayat PRI should be given the responsibility. So from top to just 2 days ago, we organized a webinar where our Honorable Chairperson NCPCR was there, and Professor PM Nair was there, and it was a fantastic webinar. Everyone has appreciated. So the lots of ideas have been given by both the eminent speakers. So I think that will be helpful for us. And the ideas we have to and one thing I am impressed by our Honorable Chairperson. Priyanka Nangoji has mentioned that now the trafficking has to be, it should not be child-centric, it should be family-centric. That I agree, fully agree, that we have to focus on the families, the economy of the families. Then only trafficking issues can be addressed properly. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Sunita ma'am, and you're absolutely right. Even I am in 100% agreement with Priyank sir when he says that the focus has to be on the family. The more sensitized the family is, the more quickly we'll be able to prevent human trafficking. Moving on to our next speaker for today, Padma Shri Sunita Krishnan ji has just joined us, and thank you so much, ma'am, for your presence. Your address is one I am personally looking forward to hearing very much, because you are someone who has been working on ground in the field of social work since the age of 8 years. You were a child yourself when you started working for society, and today you are the founder of the NGO which is running the largest shelter for victims of human trafficking in our country. It is the largest in the world. You have already rehabilitated and saved more than 12,000 people. And the more I have been exploring this particular line of work, I have always been struck by how usually it is assumed that a child of a sex worker is going to go into the flesh trade. So your activism to prevent that has also been legendary and inspiring for many, many. Waiting to hear from you, ma'am. Ma'am, your mic is muted.
Namaskar. Thank you, Charu, for such a beautiful introduction. Just a little correction. As of last night, we rescued 23,000 girls, and,
Wow. Sorry, I was
and right
relying on
now,
Google information, but
yeah,
I stand corrected.
yeah. So, and right now there is a rescue operation going on, and it started yesterday. I'm sitting here talking to you all in a context like in the last 8 days we have rescued 6 children from hardcore prostitution between the ages of 12 and 16. Today is World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, and it's a day which we across the world commemorate. I don't know whether to use the word celebrate, commemorate, to celebrate survivors who have survived this experience, and also to remind ourselves there are millions still enslaved, and kind of reaffirming and reiterating our pledge to our own selves that we want to end. So the first thing I want to say, if you want to prevent child trafficking, you want to prevent human trafficking, you have to listen to the voices of the survivors. We have to understand that we have become archaic. This morning we had a fantastic webinar with survivors only, which was the keynote address was given by Justice Lokur, and we had survivors from 14 states and 2 countries participating. I am just reeling with the information that I have got. We need to listen to the survivors for 2 reasons. One, for us to become more compassionate and empathetic in what the entire plight of a person is going through. A child of 10, if she is raped or kept in captivity or is tortured, what does it mean? How when ma'am said it is very difficult to rehabilitate, we need to also understand why is it difficult. It is difficult because a person is so traumatized, and a point comes when the person starts normalizing that experience, and that's part of the entire violative, exploitative experience, where you start surviving in that experience, because if you're going to fight with these characters, they're going to torture you more. So you start liking it, you start developing friends among it, you start relaxing, you will not try to run away, you will start becoming comfortable in the process of being exploited. A day comes when you feel this is normal, and this is more beneficial than going and facing social stigma, getting looked down about from the family, rejected by people, tortured by the courts, made to come to the court 100 times, cases never coming up. It's much better than that. This life exists. So they may say, I like to do this is better than doing something else. So we need to understand why they say that. That's the first thing. The second reason is the organized criminal syndicates are far, far more smarter than all of us. We are actually dumbheads in front of them. They are going leaps and bounds. Every minute they are changing. We are sitting here and discussing, oh my God, how is COVID affecting trafficking? What is the impact of human trafficking and COVID? हम लोग तो ऐसे सोचते जा रहे हैं, बस सोचने में ही टाइम पास कर ले रहे हैं. They have already trafficking children. They have started trafficking using COVID as a thing. Today, hundreds of children, I know 6 of them whom we have rescued in the last 10 days, who have been only trafficked through online means. And believe me, these children are not coming from, garib families. They're not coming from poverty-stricken families. They're coming from middle-class families. And we need to understand how fast things are changing, how fast the criminals are operating. Are we in a position to be at that speed with them? We have to be 10 steps, before them and not behind them. We are actually 200 steps behind them at this moment. So we need to find a way to actually increase the pace at which we are going, which means that we need to listen to the survivors every minute, because they will tell us the trends. They will tell us the changing narratives. They will tell us how it is happening newly for us to design better anti-trafficking intervention. And if that is the point, with today's situation, I would say, if the last child cannot be reached by us, we are seeing a situation where hundreds and thousands of children are out of school today. While the middle class and the upper middle class have connection to an online means to be occupied with education, there are children who are not provided that. So slowly they're getting excluded and becoming more and more vulnerable, especially with economic devastation, where the family has lost all their employment, and yes, we have to make it family centric. There's no doubt about it. When the family is devastated and you have combination of natural disasters, floods and rain and everything adding, double jeopardy on this person, and this child is also become more vulnerable because there's no place for this child to go. So we have to start understanding what an excluded child is potentially at risk to. That is when we can start thinking about the right kind of thing. A 12-year-old child from Bihar tells me, who was trafficked for prostitution, and I was trying to understand from where was she picked up. He says, हम तो जाते थे ना मोबाइल रिचार्ज कराने के लिए. So the entire, trafficking space happened in a mobile recharge center. So only when you speak to survivors, you will understand where are the places that we have to create the awareness, where are the sensitization domains that we need to make, what is the content and messages of our sensitization. We talk about, okay, we will do, general trafficking हो रहा है. वो general trafficking हो रहा है, वो information सबको पता है भाई, आजकल कोई बुद्धू नहीं है. कैसे हो रहा है? We have to, break that information gap. And we have to keep updating the public कि भैया इस तरह से भी हो सकता है. तुम्हें एक WhatsApp में मिस कॉल आ सकता है, तुम्हें कोई ऑफर आ सकते हैं, इस तरह के बच्चों को ऑफर आते हैं कि हमको ये मिलेंगे वो मिलेंगे. तो आपको उस तरह की चीजों को जागरूक रहना है. तो we have to create our information packaging from what we get from the survivors, because they will tell you how this happened, and if that is added in our awareness program, then the awareness and sensitization campaign will have benefit. Few days back, we had a man selling his 6 days infant. A baby, 6 days baby was sold. Why? Because the man didn't have a job. His wife was found to be COVID positive. She was admitted. The baby came in the man's hand with no other option. He just sold the baby off at the first place. Create a safety net in the community for employment, for food safety, for food surety and food security, and creating employment and livelihood opportunities even in crisis and calamities today is our collective challenge. How do we ensure food security to every family? दिन का 3 टाइम का खाना नहीं तो एटलीस्ट 1 टाइम का खाना तो उनके हाथ में पहुंच जाना चाहिए. How do we create that? Let us not go by government scheme, wo scheme, ye scheme. Let us creatively think as civil society, as the state and the system, how we can converge our strengths to ensure that not a single human being in this country is hungry. A single human being, a hungry person, can push the person into a desperation. Today, I also want to highlight another major concern that I'm very, very worried about is the changing narrative in child trafficking. That is the entire space of virtual trafficking or cyber trafficking. Today, no child is safe. Any child who has got access to internet is potentially could be a potential victim. So where do we start? We need to start with parents. Today, हमारी जनता ऐसी है कि if including me, we are technologically challenged. I am 48 years old. Am I equipped to tell my 20-year-old child how to be safe online? I have my own, doubt, because our generation is very severely technologically challenged. हमारे बच्चे शायद 10 साल के बच्चे हमको बता दें कि व्हाट्सएप में कैसे घुसना है, वो ऐप कैसे डाउनलोड करना है, ये ऐप कैसे. So we need to equip and strengthen our parents. That means our parents teachers program in every school, including government school, has to change. We need to start building the capacities of the parents on mobile safety, online safety. हमको choice नहीं है, अभी करना ही है. Similarly, we need to understand that here is a child who is far better exposed than you and me, even about sex and sexuality. We may not know many things. They know many things because उनको access है उस तरह के information के लिए जो हमको नहीं था. And therefore, we need to build the skills of every human being who comes in contact with a child, starting with parents, teachers, every other person who comes in contact with a child has to be sensitized, trained, and that is why Dr. Nair is here. He has started something very interesting called the Anti-Human Trafficking Club. I think they are one of the real answers in the situation, because these clubs could be trained, they could be the master trainers, they could go and do locally that kind of training with all parents groups, community groups and things like that. Because today what is required is not information, what is required is skills. सब कुछ पता है क्या हो रहा है, जब होगा तो क्या करना है उसके बारे में कोई बताता नहीं है, कि कोई ये बताता नहीं कि क्या साइंस वॉच करने हैं, कोई ये बताता नहीं है किसको कांटेक्ट करना है अगर हम डिफिकल्टी में. तो स्किल्स is the key factor. Just information awareness does not work. Finally, I want to very this is my pet topic, so I want to very importantly say, especially in the child trafficking domain and the labor trafficking domain, every year we are very fashionably doing some Operation Muskan and Operation Smile and blah 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 and all that stuff. To me, they are just relocation program where आप हैदराबाद से निकालते हो 100 बच्चों को, वापस बिहार भेज देते हो या झारखंड भेज देते हो, hand them over to their families, matter closed. Rehabilitation is not a relocation. Rehabilitation is an entire process जहां पर safe shelters create करने हैं with proper standards of care, safe shelters which will create platforms for healing, platforms for giving life skills, platforms for providing livelihood skills, platforms for providing education, platforms for building a space where the person can recover herself or himself and gaining that strength to live in the society as a very dignified person, as a child or an adult. Us safe shelter ke baad, there is another, that's the beginning of the shrinkala. The chain rehabilitation maybe starts with a safe home. It moves on to aftercare programs. It moves on to a continuum of care in the community, going on to community-based rehabilitation. Just running a home is not rehabilitation, and just handing over to family is not rehabilitation. I thought it's very important that we realize, because today, all of us unknowingly are becoming to party to re-trafficking of children. हर साल 100 को निकाल लेते हैं और 100 को बच्चों के हाथ में भेज दे, उनके पेरेंट्स के हाथ में दे देते हैं, और एक और तरीके से वही बच्चा वापस उसी स्पेस में आ जाता है. We need to break that damn chain, and each one of us is accountable for that. Let us take our accountability and let us not create ego turfs saying कि भाई हम NGO वाली बोल रही है, ऐसे ही बोलेगी, सबको गाली देगी. Let us listen to what is being said. All of us have a role to play. None of us can work in silos. NGOs have a role to play. The state has a role to play. Enforcement mechanism has a role to play. Statutory bodies have a role to play. And we have to play a role synergetically as a multi-stakeholder intervention. None of us can do this alone. Let us understand that. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Sunita ji. As expected, your entire talk was extremely insightful, and my takeaway is listen to the survivors. You're absolutely right. That's the key to a lot of things, and the information gap that you have talked about. So we have to bridge this gap. We fill it up with knowledge. And moving on to the last segment of the webinar today, and with Dr. Nair's permission, if I may say this, we have saved the best for last. So Dr. Nair is a former DG for NDRF. He is an IPS officer, and Sir is a UN recognized expert on the issues of child trafficking. Sir is also the chairperson of the Center of Excellence on Human Trafficking, and I have just discovered through Sunita ji that you have created something which is called as the Anti-Human Trafficking Club. I'm very curious to know more about this, sir, and we are looking forward to your address to us now.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I know it's quite a long day this is the 7th program I'm attending on World Day of Human Trafficking. But I'm very happy that the world is agog with this issue of trafficking, and realization of across the board is very high. It's a good news, very good news. So when you find different types of stakeholders, Sunita was talking about survivors. I also had around a huge number of survivors in Ranchi, talking to them. Amazing. When you talk to them, you learn everything every day, as she rightly said. The NCPCR document, I'm grateful to Mr. Kanungo for this interaction. I'm very happy that you've taken this initiative. The document is something I must say, it's really good for various reasons. First is the hotspot analysis. It's a method of analyzing the thing properly and placing it in context. The hotspot analysis, that has given an indication to the responders, not only the police agency and state statutory agencies, but even others also, to think aloud as to how to go about. Then the menu of services you are given, listed out, okay, this is job of the, even to the level of the clerk, panchayat, that fellow, this will do, this fellow will do. You know, everybody's job is very clearly laid out. That's something amazing. Then role clarity has been brought in your report. Role clarity has been brought in. The linkages has been established. All of us keep talking about the convergence, which is an important thing which is missing today. But you have placed the things in context, and the linkages has been established with other SOPs and other documents. You are not neglected any earlier document, even the MHA document, MWC document, NHRC document. I found it very interesting to have a collation of all those available today, so that a reader can go through, that is also there, this is also there. People who will not miss the important documents. Then the indicators is also very good. Today, at least 10 times, people have asked me, how do you find, what is the indicator that trafficking is happening at home? Then I also keep saying the same point that Dr. Sunita said about the elephant is in the room now. People have gone into, the traffic has come into cell phones, and adolescent girls and boys are suffering because of the traffic has intrusion into the cell phone. The question was, what are the indicators? So at least this document which you have produced today has brought out some indicators. That's a good thing. The list of schemes in one place. Many people don't know what other schemes are available today. I'm very happy that the document has been brought in. So a lot of accolades for this document. I'm very happy, meticulously prepared and brought out on this particular day. Congratulations to the chairperson and the wonderful team of NCPCR and all those who are associated with this document. Now, moving on to the issue of human trafficking, I don't want to repeat anything which has been spoken by the esteemed panelists. They spoke so well, all of them in their own way, doing commendable work. Charu, your comments and queries in between and narrations really added value. Madam Ananya Chakrabarti, Ms. Anamika Singh, Mr. D.K. Saxena, Dr. Sunita Chan-Kagati, and Dr. Sunita Krishnan. All of you have a place in context what exactly is happening in the concerned area of work, where your highlights are there, your area of interest is there, and also the issues which are of very important nature today we need to address, or how you are addressing. Each one has its own potential of addressing the issue at this level, and you can take it forward if you can combine all these points and take it forward. Last but not the least, the issue of demand remains a core issue of human trafficking. When you think of any issue, if Sunita said the internet has been taken over by the traffickers, rightly so. The Indian Child Protection Fund did a study, and that study shows during the COVID time, in 2 months' time, in 100 cities in India, 5 million Indians have gone into the internet looking for child pornography. So who are these 5 million Indians? They are right there. They are amongst us. They must be in our own homes. Your uncle, your chacha, your brother, your tutor, your sister, your brother, your somebody, all there. They're all there. So that this issue of 5 million people in 100 cities, if it is all cities together, it may be 50 million or much more. So imagine 50 million fellows in India getting into the website and looking for child pornography. It has got 3 major dimensions. Number one, When they are getting into child pornography, looking for child pornography, that means child pornography is still available. Despite all the bans and restrictions by all the statutory agencies, child pornography is still available there. Maybe dark web or maybe deep web, whatever web you call, it's there. So when the child pornography is there, what does it mean? That they are making huge money. They are making huge money. So business as usual or business galore. Child trafficking has gone very high. This is a very clear indication. Business is going very high because of COVID. The COVID has given impetus to the business of child trafficking online. A very clear evidence. And people are buying pornography or seeing pornography, therefore the business going up. Now, what second dimension is that these fellows who are watching the child pornography are facilitating the exploitation of children. Child pornographers need children to develop the pictures. So there is some child being exploited every day, every minute somewhere. And most of these pictures are at home. They are not recorded in some TV studio somewhere. They are all recorded at home. You can see the broken windows or the curtains lying there, etc., etc. So the child is being exploited at home. That means today when the children are being confined home thanks to COVID, thanks or otherwise to COVID, the children are being exploited also. The exploitation of children has gone very high. Now, across the country, only very few states have a recorded number going high. Kerala, for example, 3 times over number of child exploitation has gone very high. Tamil Nadu, child marriage has gone very high. It's another facade of child trafficking. So all these are very clear indications of how it has gone. So the last part is the child is being exploited. And the third element of the entire story is that these 5 million or 50 million fellows who are watching child pornography, when the COVID lockdown opens up, Tamil Nadu is opening up tomorrow. Where will they go? They are in the society. They are open. They are there. So they are there to prey on our children. The children who are in the street, or children who are in the railway station or the bus stand or wherever they are, all the children they are going to be highly vulnerable. So this is an indication that the coming days are not going to be easy for our children. Trafficking will be on the increase. Trafficking will be on a phenomenal increase. Therefore, we need to be prepared. Unless we are prepared, our children are going to be sold. Our children are going to be exploited, and there will be a serious calamity in this scenario. Therefore, it's time that NCPCR took this initiative. I'm very happy we are with you, Mr. Ganungo. Let's take the mission forward and how we can address it. So many solutions have come. I think we don't have to add to any solutions because the document itself speaks about the important solutions. But just since the point came up, let me focus on one important point about the data. I think somebody has to bell the cat. If I say BPRD, Bureau of Police Research Development, or National Crime Records Bureau, I am part of that. I was working there. I've been associated with them a long time, 35 years in IPS, not a short time. Data collection, data analysis, I've been working with them. But the data which the NCPCR or the National Crime Records Bureau has got today is only one part. Let us not be happy with that part. The details which are being collected by Mr. Saxena in the interiors, or Mara Ananya Chakrabarti from the schools there, or Dr. Sunitha Jangoti from the NGOs there, does it find place? Sunitha Krishnan's rescue, are they part of this? The number of children who the child line has. I don't know how many have seen child line data. Let me take the example since I'm in Chennai Central Railway Station, Madras Railway Station. So one railway station talking about. Tamil Nadu has 100 stations, one railway station. Last year, child line rescued 587 children. Out of them, 327 were seen with agents. Child line is a very, very refined language. I'm sorry, Mr. Rajesh, I missed you in the introduction. You're also there. Thank you so much for addressing that point. I missed you when I spoke about here. I heard your points also, very valid points. The child line data, Madras Central Station, I'm talking about one station. Of these 587 children rescued by them, 327 were seen with the agents. That means traffickers. No, that means there should have been 327 crimes registered in the government railway police in Chennai. But the number registered is 0. One case came to my notice, not because I am there, but all of us made a lot of noise. That case got registered and 13 children were rescued further. Now, What happens to all the 327 and this one case rescued? One case rescued, 13 children rescued, trafficker arrested, investigation done properly, care taken, child sent back to Odisha. All those people are put in motion, things happen. But in the other 327 cases where the children were seen with agents, means traffickers, nothing happened. What happens to the children? All the children were sent back home. I went to Kamrup CWC, went to Jaipur CWC. Wonderful people are manning that institution. Sit with them, talk to them. They said, in a matter of 3 months' time, the child is coming 3 times over. So the data which we publish somewhere, I have rescued so many, is it correct? Are those children being recycled or not? All of us have to think. Most of the children are being recycled. Sunita used the word relocation. It's a recycling actually. In fact, it's a recycling. Most of the children are being recycled. Rescue of children in Jaipur, sent back to Gaya district in Bihar. Trafficker takes them back to Jaipur. Again Jaipur and rescued. The Child Welfare Committee, Madam Mrs. Sharma tells me, sir, this child appeared before me thrice over. I was sitting with them. Now, what are we talking about? So that means there is a complete collapse of the system. Therefore, that data has to be captured. That will become shocking for the entire country. I would request NCPCR and SCPCR, because we have two vibrant SCPCR persons out here. Take this as a mission. Get hold of all the data in your state. Child line data, police data is of course there, police data, child line data, and also rescue of other NGOs. Can you collate all the data? There may be overlap. Like Kannur district of Kerala, 2 crimes of trafficking. The SP has registered, very smart Superanda police, 2 crimes registered, 6 victims rescued, 3 from Kerala, 3 from outside. Very good. Same year, Childline has 24 rescue, not in the police record. Same time, an NGO has got 287 rescue, all documented well. Not in 1 case registered. So this 287 is equally important as the 24 of the Childline, as much as the 6 of the police. If all this come together, then we get a complete picture. I am not saying defame the government. I am not saying violate the government rules. I am only saying you are part of the government. So we are all part of the government. We are all still part of the government. We continue to be part of the government. Let's get this data together and at least showcase the reality. When the reality comes in through this data, I think we will be doing a very important step. Then you can do the data mining, data interpretation, data analysis, data collation, data cleaning. All this can be taken place. But get the data together. If any state, at least these three persons, important people are here, can we work on a mechanism on this particular issue and take it forward? My support is always with you, no issues whatsoever. Well, somebody asked about anti-human trafficking clubs in the colleges. Better is very simple. Dr. Sunita, and all of you are speaking about the role of the youth. Youth power is very important. When the youth power is capitalized or capsized and channelized properly, we can do wonders. We have spent 40 years in the business of anti-human trafficking. I rescued 133 children, boys as SP of a district, Palamu in Bihar, way back in 82. I am sure if I go to the same place, I can rescue 133 even today. So that will continue. So this will go on like this. So now the youth has to be put in mission. Youth empowerment is very important. So we started anti-human trafficking clubs in the colleges. Very humble, simple message. They are not to be taught about the international conventions and regulations, etc., but what they can do. What the youth can do. As Sunita also rightly mentioned, short messages. One of the tasks given to anti-human trafficking club is that short and simple messages given to the adolescent girls through the principal of the college as to what they can do if they get a pornographic film in a cell phone. Normally they delete, but the trafficker is watching. He is very happy for deleting because that goes in the memory and another picture comes in. So every deletion you are adding to the memory in the phone. This girl doesn't know how to take it out of the memory. That girl doesn't know. Therefore, these college students are very smart. They are techno-savvy. Their technical knowledge is very high. And therefore, let us utilize this anti-human trafficking club as a mechanism to fight this issue of online sexual exploitation and internet-oriented sexual exploitation. That is one part. The students can do a lot. They can. In fact, I made today around 1,000 students in a particular place in Nagarjuna University. I said, all of you stand up and put your hand here. I shall not watch child pornography. Bolo, I shall not watch child pornography. I will not allow my father to watch child pornography. I will not ask my uncle to watch child pornography. I will not allow my teacher. I will not allow my teacher to watch child pornography. I will not allow anybody to watch child pornography. I think if 50% children do that, that's a great achievement. So what we can do is Anti-Human Trafficking Club is an agency where you can utilize service of the youth, channelize the way you want. I would request the SCPCR and NCPCR take this Anti-Human Trafficking Club as a mission and take it forward. People like Mrs. Saxena working in the grassroots can definitely utilize. You have boys and girls in Jharkhand are very smart. Since I worked there for almost 14 districts in Jharkhand, I know how smart they are. Very smart people are there across the country. Utilize them. So they take this as a mission forward. Last but not the least, when you have the issue coming up in the villages, all the people of migrant labor has gone to villages now. They will be going back after 2 months or 3 months. They have to go back because when they return from Gujarat or Rajasthan or Madhya Pradesh or somewhere, they have taken 20,000, 40,000 from that fellow to go back. They have to get the bonded money. They have to give back. They will go. What will happen? The poor woman or the child who has always accompanying them, they can't go back now. COVID scenario. These children are left in the lurch. There are no schools there. There are no schools there. Can the panchayats start open schools? Start something, open school. Even if you're not teaching mathematics and physics and chemistry, start with ka, kha, ga and A, B, C, D and 1, 2, 3. Numeracy and literacy, they can start. Let them start. At least the children are empowered. Then tell them what their rights are. At least the empowered children. So panchayat is a very important medium. Panchayat, we started something called Panchayat Against Human Trafficking, PAHT, PAHT. Panchayat Against Human Trafficking. We are developed, in fact, the SOP is developed also. That is started forming in many places across the country. Panchayat Against Human Trafficking on the vulnerability part, and the students group of the Anti-Human Trafficking clubs for the demand part. So I think if both can come together, the entire mission, we can make a small dent. Very happy with the NCPCR initiative. Thank you for all the distinguished panelists. I can't make any comment on it because you're all experts in your own field, with experience and expertise on their own field. But the mission is daunting. If there are 100 issues, we have 1,000 solutions also. 100 issues, 1,000 solutions also, and we are the solution. In fact, each one of us have the solution. I'm very happy each one have contributed so much in this mission, and let's take the mission forward. Let us ensure and take a pledge that we will take one step forward. Our children are not for sale. Our women are not for sale. Let's take one step forward in this mission and do something out of the box, not just routine paper pushing or something here and there. Let's do one step forward approach and out of the box solutions. Then I think things will make a great difference. Thank you. Namaste. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Nair sir, for that address. And after listening to you, all I can say is when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So you have inspired everyone, including me, to work even harder for a common cause that connects us all. I would like to conclude now by inviting Priyank sir to give the formal vote of thanks from NCPCR.
Dr. Nair, Dr. Sunita Krishnan, Anamika Singh ji, DK Saxena साहब, अनन्या जी, राजेश जी, डॉक्टर सुनीता जी और चारू जी, आप सभी का और हमारे साथ जितने भी जो लोग आज जुड़े, मैं देख रहा हूं कि फेसबुक पे देश भर के एक्टिविस्ट हमारे साथ आज जुड़े हैं और डेफिनेटली डॉक्टर नायर, डॉक्टर कृष्णन, आप लोगों का जो मिशन है उसको आगे ले जाने में हमारे सारे स्टेट कमीशंस, वॉलंटियर्स, सभी लोग मदद करेंगे। और खास तौर पे मैं नीति आयोग के लिए भी एक बात उनको थैंक्स के साथ कहना चाहूंगा कि उनका गाइडेंस ही है जो नेशनल कमीशन सारी स्कीम्स को एक साथ ला पाया और ये तरीका हम लोग एक अख्तियार कर पाए हैं कि कैसे हम फैमिली सेंट्रिक अप्रोच पे जा सकेंगे। और डेफिनेटली नारकोटिक्स कंट्रोल ब्यूरो ने हमारी जो आज मदद की है, हमको आज जो डॉक्टर राजेश कुमार जी हमारे साथ आज पधारे यहाँ पे, आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और डेफिनेटली कहीं ना कहीं नारकोटिक कंट्रोल ब्यूरो के साथ कमीशंस को और ज्यादा कोलैबोरेटिव एफर्ट्स करने की जरूरत है और हम फ्यूचर में सारे स्टेट कमीशंस के साथ मिलकर ये रास्ता निकालेंगे। मैं खास तौर पे धन्यवाद करना चाहूंगा वेस्ट बंगाल की हमारी कमीशन के चेयरपर्सन अनन्या जी का, जिन्होंने सबसे आगे बढ़कर इस ट्रैफिकिंग की प्रॉब्लम से लड़ने के लिए जो है तैयारी की है और निश्चित रूप से आने वाले समय में इन 3 स्टेट्स के साथ कमीशन भी कुछ पायलट प्रोजेक्ट्स शुरू करेगा बेस्ड ऑन दिस ड्राफ्ट। सो आप सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।